Hello and welcome to Library Drawing Party. Today we're going to be drawing this beautiful lighthouse. To get started, let's use our brown colored pencil or a number 2 pencil. I'm going to use the brown colored pencil because it's light. So the strokes that I'm going to use we can leave when we're finished with the drawing. But you can also use the number 2 pencil if you'd like to erase as we go along. So I'm going to start with the lighthouse. So I have a straight line for the railing, and then it comes down a bit on both sides, and then there's a little bit of extra railing on this side. And let me draw the top of the railing. Same thing, and then let's add in our vertical lines for the actual rails, and then let's put in the top of lighthouse. I'm going to switch to red. So this almost looks like a cat to me. So there's the lip here, and then the half circle that gets filled in, and then a little dot on the top. And then there's the bottom piece of red that goes through the railing. I'm going to switch back to my light brown, and I'm going to draw a diagonal line down to the ground, and then a line pretty much in a little bit off center from our railing down. You might want to use a ruler for this to get a nice straight edge. You can use the side of your pencil too. That seems a little large to me, so I'm going to move the lines in. But because we're using a light color, we're going to be painting over it. I'm not overly concerned about the lines. There, much better. I'm going to take my eraser and erase the first lines. And again, we're going to be painting and coloring over this, so no big deal if you still see the lines a bit. Okay, once you have your lighthouse established, let's work on the house. And since there's a lot of gray in the house, I'll be using my number 2 pencil. But before we do that, I want to draw in this red roof. And it's about halfway down the lighthouse. We only see the tip of it. I'm going to use my brown for a chimney or roof topper. And then now I'm going to use my number 2 pencil, and I'm going to finish the roof. And you can use a straight edge for this, so a ruler or side of your pencil. And this comes down to the horizon line. Now for the lighthouse, kind of has a pyramid shape. So you're going to want the diagonal lines to be pointing downwards, almost like you're drawing an open book. Then let's draw the side of the house. It's got a nice flat roof. Let's pencil in those windows. Two that come right up to the edge of the roof. The windows have almost like frames around them. I'm going to draw the inner lines. This is an old lighthouse, so it's okay if the lines aren't perfect. Then let's draw the windows on the side. And there's these basement windows. So if you're running out of room, you can just add in another layer at the bottom. We're going to be adding in the siding anyway, so you can just leave that line. And then we do windows on the other side. And then the basement windows. And let's draw the front door. With some steps coming down. And some shadow. And then the windows. We don't have it in our original drawing of having a window above the door, but I kind of like the idea, so I'm going to leave that right there. And then I'm going to go back to using my brown. So I can highlight some of these edges. Since the paint of the house would be white, but there would still be some brown peeking through from the wood. And then there's little awning here with some wooden posts. So I'm going to use my brown to create this posts and then put the beam across. And I'll add in some shading with my number 2 pencil. Now my lighthouse is a little bit further away from my house or barn that's right next to it. So if you want, you can even add a second building here. I'm going to add, or second room here. I'm going to add a window. A little piece coming out. Add a little bit of a red roof too to tie in roofs. Now at this stage, let's finish the windows. So I'm going to use blue, a light blue, to create the windows on the lighthouse. They're just long, thin rectangles that get a little bit wider as they reach the bottom. Then there's a door and shadow here, so I'm going to use my number 2 pencil for that. And because of the perspective, we have a little diagonal line on top. Then I'm going to create a main door on the side here using my brown. Brown roof. Can hint at the red, but because this is in shadow, I don't want this to be completely red. And we can actually, in fact, darken this house up in shadow as well, that piece of the house. Then I'm going to use my light blue to finish out the shadow. I'm going to draw right over the lighthouse and add in my chimney. I'm going to use the light blue for the windows. And I'm going to lightly press the red on the door, help bring in that red color without taking away the emphasis of the lighthouse. Then I'm going to add lines going across for the siding. And you can use a ruler. I kind of like that it's uneven. Makes it feel more natural. You want to put this very lightly so it adds like a bit of gray when you're standing far away. I'm going to do the same thing on the side of the lighthouse. I want it to be either straight or starting to curve down. I'm doing this on the right hand side for the shadow, since the light source is coming this way. You can hint at some boards in the front, but you don't want to put as much because we want this to be the brightest part of the drawing. And we can leave it at that. And let's take our brown and start to add in the trees. So I'm going to be adding in the trunks. There's 2 trees here, and they have all branches going every which way. This would be a fall or a winter scene, since there's still some leaves, but they're mostly brown at this point. We have a tree right in the center here that you can see the branches. And then there's a tree right on the side of the house. You can see the branches and some of the fading leaves. I'm going to add in a bit of green to the trees. Give them some life. And you may notice that above the windows is a little bit of an embellishment, so I'm going to add that in. So this is box with a bit of an overhang, almost like a sideways C. And we just want it to blend in with the house. We don't want it to stand out too much. But it's these details that make the house really come alive. Okay, once you have your lighthouse and your house drawn, then we can start to add in the background colors. For that, I'm going to be using my rainbow watercolor set. Since the grass is lighter, let's start with the grass. So I'm going to be using my green, you don't have to cover the whole thing because we're going to be mixing colors like yellow. And brown. Let's put in a bit more green. And a bit more yellow. Now let's take the brown And add that to our trees. And even put some orange in. If you want this to be a fall scene, you can put some orange on our little tree here. Which will be a nice contrast to our sky, which is going to be this nice deep blue. Now, you're going to want to keep the area near the lighthouse pretty white if you're intending for the light to be on in the lighthouse. That way you can show that the light is indeed streaming forward, and having this nice deep rich color will help emphasize that, and also show that it's approaching nighttime or in the twilight. You want to be mindful of how much blue you add near the lighthouse. And you can add it into the tree, show that the sky is shining through. And you can use the water to blend it in more. I'm doing horizontal strokes, but you can do any kind of strokes that you want. You're just going to want it to be in the direction of the clouds that you want. So you might want diagonal clouds. Or even vertical clouds if you want an interesting cloud pattern. You want to do layers, so you have really light, then sort of light, then a little darker, and then a little more darker, and then the darkest. And then if you want to make the sky a little bit more complex, you can add in some purple. Which will give it this nice depth. Add in some purple on the other side. You just want to make sure that your purple is in the darkest parts. Because it's a nice dark color. And there you have it. That's our lighthouse. Thank you for joining us in this week's library drawing party. We have library drawing parties every Wednesday at 7 p.m. And keep being creative.